Hey, it's Travis. Too many camp directors run just on gut feel. Our free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic is your dashboard for resilience. Take it today at camp.mba/Travis. Again, that's camp.mba/Travis. Should the camp industry be terrified of artificial intelligence?
This is CampHacker. Come find our show notes and our blog for camp directors and leaders at camphacker.tv.
A big thanks to our sponsors who make the CampHacker podcast possible. Imagine camp registration software that actually gives you more time to do what you love. With UltraCamp, you can effortlessly track attendance, manage staff, streamline registration, and more. Explore now at ultracampmanagement.com/camphacker. Why spend hours on your schedules only to find mistakes and missed activities for your campers? Let Camptivities do the heavy lifting and help you create the best schedule yet, without the mistakes and in less time. Come check out Camptivities, specifically designed for camps by camp people. Find out more at camptivities.com.
Hey, Camp Mavericks, and welcome to the CampHacker podcast, brought to you by the Camp Recruiting and Retention Playbook, UltraCamp, and Camptivities. My name is Travis Allison. I am a summer camp marketing and strategy consultant.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Hudson. I am the founder of a little place called Camp Highlights, a sleepaway camp for kids who have LGBTQ parents. State of New York and California have thrown their electoral votes behind Camp Highlight, and we will be president. It's very exciting. I'm also a DEI consultant, camp consultant. Hi.
Hey there, I am MJ, use she, her pronouns. I am the podcast producer and social media person for the Summer Camp Society. Excited to be here today.
Social media director for the Summer Camp Society. Let's go, MJ. I'm Jack, and I help run the Summer Camp Society. We're a collection of progressive camp bros that get together and try and help each other do more cool stuff. Travis, is AI going to ruin the camp industry?
It is not something I'm particularly worried about, although I know from the faces that it can be. Before we dive in, I just want to say one quick thing in terms of the last of the general stuff about the show. Shows like this get in front of other people when people take a second and leave reviews. So we would super love it if you went to ratethispodcast.com/camp and leave us an honest review and rating there. We're not asking you to lie and demand that you give us 5 stars. Just be honest. That discussion is important and helps others. Jack, segue it is. We are talking about the big topics that camp is not talking about. I've spent the last year doing a lot of thinking and research on AI, and I think there's some interesting parts to it. I have my thoughts on it. What I wonder is, Chris, this was a topic that you were a little nervous about. Why is that?
Oh, man, we don't have enough time. I think, in short, like so many of these advancements, we don't really stop to think about what the effect is going to be. We just like, oh crap, it's so cool. Won't it be cool if this can happen? And already, I can see the problems with it. You know, I was working with a camp who was using AI to generate pictures for their website. So what do you think? Who do you think was in those pictures?
Mm-hmm. People of color.
No people of color. It was
the generated pictures weren't.
Nope, there was just white kids and white people who work there, because when the AI sweeps the internet and looks back at the 90-odd year history of camp, what are the things that come up most? That. So it's like, okay, on aggregate, everyone at camp is white. So I'll produce images like that, because newsflash, AI isn't really artificially intelligent like the robot made in the Jetsons. It's just a super search engine. And I know that we're like, oh, it's going to write all our marketing stuff, and that's really great. But even still, like the AI that corrects my email, it puts in a voice that is not mine. And it makes me question, whose voice is this? Who speaks like this? And who am I communicating with that will understand this kind of speech? So just generally, AI makes me nervous, because I think it's the kind of thing that a lot of people are really excited about, but can't quite tell you why. We've just all grown up in science fiction universes, and we think that's what's coming. That's not what's coming. That was wow. I'm very doom and gloom today. But that's why I'm just really, really cautious about this technology, because every technology we've ever created has been used to keep people out. It is used to keep people down. And this one has the ability to do that on a humongous scale.
Mm-hmm. Where I thought you were going to go with this, Chris, is that camps were artificially putting in extra people of color in their pictures with artificial intelligence, and then telling a story that's telling a story that's a lie. That families would be disappointed.
Both of those are the same problem. Both of those are the same problem. Either way, you're not realistically representing what's happening in our camps or what could happen at our camps. If you are injecting people of color into your AI generated images, you're lying. That's bad marketing. If it's only white people, only gorgeous people, only able-bodied people, you're also lying, because that's not a lot of camps either.
Yeah. One of the things that started this discussion was from I talked about this before, but a presentation I did at the OCA last year, 5 things that we're not talking about as an industry. One of the things that I did is I had pictures of camps in the background behind me on the big screen while I was giving my presentation. All of them were fake. Nobody noticed. And I had very intentionally gone in and given the prompts to include people with different bodies, people with different presentations, etc. But that is a potential problem, of course, is that the representation is too far the wrong way. The representation is based on what the algorithms are trained on and not trained on enough variety and different presentations. MJ, what for you is a thing that sticks out when you think about the industry and AI?
Yeah, I think, excuse me, I am thinking a lot about it because, as Chris shared, there is a lot that can be really scary or harmful about this, as well as we're seeing the really cool, shiny things that it's doing. I know for myself, there are really fun little things that we can do. We did some TikToks that used and utilized the AI features. And even with that, Chris, we had someone actually, Sammy, the person who created them, actually had to call out ChatGPT on their male gaze and their coded gaze, because it was the products and the photos that we put out weren't actually the ones that were the first draft, because we had to call into it being like, why does that female identifying one have skimpy clothing on? And so, we had to fight with a robot, which was weird. So I'm thinking on both sides of it, but from a camp professional, as a camp director person, I'm thinking about how can I make it work smarter for me, so that I don't have to work as hard for things. So I'm hearing a lot of people mentioning making menus with it or getting it to generate new camp activities. So there's some of those things that I do think do come with a really good ability to create a baseline. And then we, as the people who are doing maybe like the heart work, not the hard work, can go in and with that lens and say, okay, let's look at this from an able body lens, look at this from an equity lens, and be able to take the base and mold it into something we can use.
That's great. What have you been thinking about this, Jack?
I think running camp is really hard. I think it's really, really hard to run camp. And I think that what we have as a camp industry is these moats that are created, this inability to change, this ability to hold on to what we have, because running camp is also pretty capital intensive. It requires a bunch of money to own a property, or you have to know somebody to get a permit, or it's not possible to start camps. If you want to start camp, send me an email. I want to help you start a camp. But the reality is that the entrenched players get to make most of the decisions about running camp. That tends to lead to a bunch of people that look like me. I am a cis white dude that make most of the decisions about camp. They're the people that also are the most represented at camp. I agree with what Chris is saying, that camp has a problematic history, just like the rest of the United States, just like the rest of the world. And AI has been created it's a it's a tool, it's a technology that has been created, and inside of it are all of the biases that come with it being a part of the world, right? It has, if you're a Wheel of Time fan, it has the taint of the One Power nerd time. Like it has that in it. Like, sure, it definitely does. And so does the rest of the internet, and so does your iPhone, and so does your Android. Android fanatics, let's go. We're all going to be connected soon. The EU is saving us. We're going to all have blue or green techs. I don't know what they've decided. But it all has that, right? It has that bias baked into it. And here's my concern with an idea that is, we're going to push away this new tool, is that some camps are going to continue to use it. And if we, the people that care about having more inclusive camps, if we, the more progressive kind of group, are the Luddites that choose not to use AI, what's going to happen is the people that choose to use it will drastically move past us. They'll be able to do so much more work so much faster than we will. And then we'll be stuck with less getting done, with less resources, and over time, we'll fall even further behind. And so while I think we do need to be cognizant of the bias that is inherent in new technology, that's inherent in some of this AI, like, what we also need to do is figure out how we can use it to make our camps better. And how can we use it to make the parts of camp that matter the most more important? And to me, camp is a place that highlights face-to-face connection, that highlights people really connecting with each other. Like Stomping Ground, the camp I started, is all about radical empathy. It's about real people talking to real people. I think that that's the most important part about camp. And I think AI can help us do more of that, because it can get us away from our computers faster. It's not the only way that it can work, but that's the techno-optimist in me. Chris, come on, let's fight.
I love that. And I have to say, I was going to vehemently disagree with you, but in the end, you won me over, Jack. The thing is that, as always, I just want us to be intentional about the tools that we use, especially when it comes to children and families. So if there is an AI, if CampMinder or someone has like an AI module that easily reads all of the kids' suggestions for cabin mates and slots them all into cabins, love that. If it's finding a way to streamline menus or ordering supplies for the kitchen, love that. What I don't love is finding a way to decide, which counselor applicants are top tier versus bottom tier, because those are the things that we've always had a problem with whenever we try to introduce technology to that. So you're right. Let's use this tool as we've used other tools in the past, computers for one, and then later the internet. Let's use these tools to enhance and to enhance our operations. But what I really want to caution people about AI is that having it do things that humans should be doing, because humans right now are having an education about diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's far too early to push those things off to a computer. Deciding, which populations or, which constituencies or communities you might want to reach out to, deciding who to hire or how to reach out to those people. Those are all things that humans should be doing and computers should not, because the AI, and I'm going to shout this from the rooftops, AI is already flawed. It's already flawed. It starts that way. So we just have to be cognizant of that before we introduce it into our operations. I'm going to stop there.
I think one of the things for me to pull together the stuff that the three of you have said, one of the things that I think is important, I think it's important that camp people are here at the beginning. I think for lots of reasons that Jack described, but to address what Chris is saying, AI, one of its great benefits is that all of the systems are learning all the time. And if the progressive voices are not there involved in the training, if it is just super corporate, rich white guy doing all of that, then the problem gets worse. So if we're involved at the beginning as people who are thoughtful and intentional, thank you for using that word intentional, then we can be a part of its early stages so that it's not as bad going forward. My general principle is, and I mean, optimist indeed, Jack. That's where I am as well. I think that AI is good for camp business, running the business side of it. That the stuff that a lot of us don't like, aren't necessarily good at, are the things that AI is good at. I think AI is going to be really hard on our families. I think that the kind of work that we do is hard to replicate. The real work, the important work, the hard work that MJ talked about that we do, is hard for an AI to accomplish. But the other stuff that we don't like is easy, but that's, I think, going to cost jobs for our families. I think it's going to be a process, certainly, what's the word, an upset in what work looks like, to our potential benefit. I don't know, but I'm positive about that. I'm feeling positive about that, but I think it can have a big impact on families and potentially those that can afford to send their kids to camp or support camp in some way.
I wonder about the macroeconomic trends about this, and I wonder about the impact it'll have on jobs. I think that forever new technology is said to be the boogeyman that will eliminate jobs, and that the only thing that's been true in the past is that new technology increases progress, which allows for the world to move forward into new things. I think that all of us would agree that we'd rather live today than 100 years ago for a million reasons. And it's likely true that will be true 100 years from now, in my opinion. Now, some people don't agree with that, but so I think that there will be some upheaval of jobs. I don't think that it will be, I personally don't think, but I don't know, and no one knows. And this is the thing that I think is really important about this topic, is no one can predict the future, and no one knows what will happen with people's jobs. But I don't think it will be quite as dramatic of an upheaval as the boogeyman is coming to take all of our jobs and whatever, but rather that, and I think it will happen less. What we are far away from doing is replacing people that do things with their hands. We're pretty far away from doing any kind of heart work that is like being a nurse. What we aren't that far away from probably is lawyers having less to do, or surgeons. Surgeons are going to go before nurses. And I think in the camp world, we're more like nurses than we are like surgeons. And so, I'm still optimistic about it. Chris, come on.
I don't want to argue with you.
I don't
want to argue with you, but my aunt, when she came to this country in the 50s, she got a job in Manhattan working in the secretarial pool. The secretarial pool was a room full of women all clacking away on typewriters, copying over documents or whatever. All of those women were replaced by photocopiers. All those women were replaced by a computer, by one person at a computer. So technology does wipe out jobs. The Pony Express. You know what I mean? There's all sorts of innovations that we make that change the face of industries. And I'm not necessarily, listen, I'm not horny for the Pony Express. That's not where I'm going. What I'm trying to say is that we need to be really intentional about it. I'm sure when automobiles came around, they're like, this will be great. This will be great. And they didn't stop to think that it would change industries forever. And that's all I'm advocating here. I love AI, as far as listen, writing emails to parents, having to write letters to parents when their kids are getting kicked out of camp and we're so emotional we can't do it. It's so nice to push that off to an AI so we just edit it instead of having to write it. There are little things I think they'll be great, but I don't want to go into this conversation pretending like AI is not going to have a widespread impact, not just on our industry, but a lot of industries. Thinking about that intentionality, I think, is going to be really super key. I think what might be really helpful, I don't know, maybe some group of people, starting with the four of us, some group of people could actually look into this and figure out how can AI, what aspects of directing a camp, running a camp, fundraising for a camp, can AI be helpful? And specifically, which areas do we caution strongly against? I think just that conversation will move us in a really thoughtful way about introducing AI or any other that we're going to have to introduce into camps in the next couple of years, because the world is changing so rapidly.
This episode of the CampHacker podcast is brought to you by UltraCamp. CampHacker listeners can discover the best marketing tools and apps for camps by visiting ultracampmanagement.com/camphacker and downloading the free guide, The Marketing Toolbox. The Marketing Toolbox has been updated for 2024 summer, so there's some great stuff for you to check out there. As a camp pro, do you remember what drew you to the camp experience? What made you the passionate camp pro that you are? UltraCamp knows that it wasn't for the paperwork. That's why they have crafted an all-in-one platform to streamline your program management. UltraCamp gives you powerful tools that put you in control of your information. It allows you to automate critical processes like registration and billing, and generate customized reports to give you valuable insights, such as the ones that we've been talking about today on our show. It also allows you to streamline your hiring process, including integrating background checks, and quickly communicate with your clients, your donors, and your families. UltraCamp's goal is to help their clients spend less time in the office and more time having an impact with kids. If you want to know if UltraCamp is right for you, they offer customized, free demo sessions so you can see the software in action, talking about your very specific needs. You can sign up and get the free download at ultracampmanagement.com/camphacker.
Some of this kind of makes me think about the trial and error that's going to come with this. So, what does fundraising look like using an AI? What do those communications look like? Chris, I think something that you said that's super important is like the proofreading of that email that's going out to that family, making sure that there is a human behind the button before you hit enter. It's going to take some time for us to figure out what that looks like and trying those things and being okay with them not working, and maybe having to remind ourselves not to be deterred if this is a direction that like the world is going in, is to have more of this automated processes. Just keeping that in mind with it too, is that humans make mistakes, and so does AI with this. And so how can we kind of learn with it and learn not in like fear of it, but exploring with it?
I want to move to soon. I want to move soon to things we can or are looking forward to using AI for. But I think that it is important. I guess what I want to do is give anybody a chance to talk about the challenges or the potential positives before we move on to some practical stuff.
I think that we're using the term AI, and it's like really like listening to a podcast and then having people define stuff is like super boring. So I'm not going to make us try and do that. But I think that what we should understand is that AI is going to power all software. It's going to be behind everything we do with the computer in some way. And AI is mostly just like Chris sort of, it's not exactly a search engine, right? But it does take a ton of information, creates a model of that information, and then tries to understand that and give us something. The way we're interacting with it right now is mostly through these like chat things, right? Like that's the interface
stuff. Yeah.
That's the interface that we're using, but it's like that's not going to be that will be only one piece of what AI is generating for us. Like we're going to open up CampMinder and or UltraCamp. I think they sponsor this podcast. That we're going to open up UltraCamp, and UltraCamp is going to say like, "Hey, you're down 2% on camper retention from last year. Here's 3 suggestions on how you could increase your retention. Do you want to send an email? Do you want to contact Chris Hudson, who helps you recruit campers here? Do you want to?" Like, this is how it's going to be. Like, the interface is going to get easier. That's going to be true on every piece of software that we have, right? So, like, when we talk about AI, what we're talking about is really just going to be the operating system. It's going to be the guts behind the operating system on how everything we do that is a screen, for now is a screen, is how we interface with it. And so, like, I don't want to downplay the potential impact of AI. It will drastically change many parts of what all of us do every day. And there's no running from it. Interacting with a screen will be interacting with AI. And so that I agree. Let's be intentional about it. Let's think about it. Let's make sure we're amplifying the human piece. Let's focus on the human piece, which I think is what matters. I also think that the bet on camp, and I'm long summer camp as an industry, because it'll be bringing more people face to face. I think more parents will want that, more caregivers will want that than ever before. And like we're gonna be interacting with AI. That's not the choice. The choice is not, do we use AI at camp or don't we? It is, how does it work for us? Not and that what that's gonna force us to do is figure out, what do we care about? Because
Sure.
I don't think we can answer that question that clearly. So we have to decide, what do we care about, so we know if it's helping us get closer to our goals or not.
Mm-hmm. So even one of the things, Jack, that you talked about, the database saying you're down 2%, that's right. It's absolutely going to do that. And it's just going to send you a message, hey, this is a thing. But what I'm more interested in, this comes at the same time as that, is, by the way, registration from the kids who were in second session in Unit B or Cabin Blob from second session, only 10% of them are re-registered, and that is way below the average of every other session, every other unit. And then I know that I have a problem that I need to address. I need to be talking to the parents and the kids from that unit. I need to be talking to the staff. I need to find out if the problem is a child who was a problem for other children, if it was a staff member, and I can get on those things earlier than all of a sudden in May saying, it's really weird that only 2 out of the 10 kids in this unit came back from last year. It's too late at that point. But if I can get on those things earlier, then I can do the people thing, and I can have conversations with folks, and I can track down, and I can try to suss out what the problem is. And I'm interested in that stuff. So there's lots of different things. I think one of the things that, if we talk about, are you ready to talk about use stuff, Chris, or do you want to talk about some other impact things?
No, I was thinking through what you were just saying, like, because the way that technology could also be used is that, I have noted, I always go this place because I always go here, but I can see that technology being like, in the Badger cabin over the past 3 years, retention's been down, and we've noticed that, that cabin routinely has kids with autism or something like that. And so maybe if the AI would suggest like, don't accept these kids because it's hurting your bottom line, because it's a machine, right? And that makes sense for it as a machine. It's, again, like MJ said, like, we need to make sure there's a human behind some of these things, like these notifications and this stuff. It's a fantastic tool. Like Jack said, AI, it's already here, and it's already behind everything you're doing. I don't know if you've ever been to Amazon. How does it know what you want? Well, guess what? We're on Zoom right now. You think I look like this? This is a filter which is analyzing my face and smoothing it out and making me look even more gorgeous than I already am, right? That's happening right now in real time. So
it's taking almost no computer power to make you look more gorgeous.
it's not doing that much work. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that, like, it is a computer, and it will seek the solution regardless. The idea of harm is hard to teach a computer. Mm-hmm. And so, like, and I just think about these things because I put on my social worker hat, and I'm like, a lot of these, we are working with people, and a lot of these things are going to require a sensitive, human, compassionate touch. And so, like, again, going back to my first statement, let's use AI to streamline all operations, and that will cost people their jobs, Jack. Let's use it for that reason and hold off on the stuff that actually interacts with the children and the families. I'm sorry, I don't know if that's where you want to go, Travis, but
Chris, I don't think it costs people their jobs in camp if we're smart about it. And here's why. Here's why I think that we can do this. Okay. I think we're not hiring in camp. It will change the jobs that are available to the world, which is a way of costing some people their jobs, certainly. In camp, mostly we aren't hiring people that are already that good at the stuff that we're going to replace, right? And so, like, the registrar tends to be better, like, at camps across the country. The registrar, who is the person whose job is the most at risk, I think, in this scenario, tends to be better at answering the phone than they are
talking to parents, and
talking to caregivers, right?
Writing
than they are
reports
at all the reports and stuff, and the reports sort of suck. And so imagine they have no reports that they have to run. They have nothing they have to do except that the computer magically creates what happens. And it just generates a list of the 30 families that they should call that day. And so they just spend their day on the phone, actually talking to people, amplifying our connection to actual people instead of driving it down, right? I think that that's possible. It's not the only way that it'll be done. I'm not saying that every camp will make this choice. And here's my concern, because I agree with you about the kids with autism being told that they're not allowed at camp because that it's going to find out that behavior, amplified behavior leads
Impacts
to
retention or something. Yeah.
lower retention around staff. I heard this at Tri-State last year. There was somebody doing a presentation. I almost lost my shit. I was sitting next to Laura. She almost yelled at this like it was wild. And so there's this, saying that the key to staff retention is getting rid of problematic campers. That's what was said. That's what was said out loud. That's what was said out loud by a leader in our industry. And listen, they're making this is a very popular take among many camps already. This is a very popular camp in especially in the for-profit world. And I'm not here to throw anybody under the bus, because what they're saying is we need to take care of our staff. And one way to take care of our staff is to make it easier for them to work at camp. And that's a reasonable take. The part where it becomes unreasonable to me is where it starts to then make it so camp is only for well-behaved, which is coded language for like kids that are good at school, that tend to be white,
Exactly.
Right? That's the coded language.
Well advantaged and highly educated, blah blah blah.
And so here's the hope I have. AI is not creating that problem. This is a problem that's happening because it is a way some people think about the world. Where I hope AI can help is, instead of costing people their jobs, it can get the person the financial, like, so we're at camp, we're paying for somebody to make the schedule at most camps. Sometimes it's 2, 3, 4 people to make the schedule, right? AI just does that for us, right? The computer does that. Camptivities, maybe you can do that. I actually have never used Camptivities. I don't know, but I'm hoping you can do that. So instead of spending $4,000 a summer on a 22-year-old to sit behind a computer and create a thing, I can click one button, it generates the thing, and that $4,000 can be spent on, maybe it's that same person, maybe it's a different person, but it's a person who then can support the campers who have the hardest time at camp, to make it so that they can stick around at camp, to make it so that we're not losing staff because of hard campers. And because, like, listen, we've all been counselors at camp before. When you have kids that are really struggling to be at camp, you're more tired at the end of the day. You're doing a worse job on whatever. And we all need a little help. And so if the magic computer box can get us freed up some money to spend on being able to support those kids more effectively, that, to me, is why we need AI to be a part of the solution, not something that we run away from. And some people will use it negatively, just like they use QuickBooks to find out that whatever is negative about their finances or whatever, like, that's going to be the true. But we can use it better to advance what we believe in.
As we bring this topic to a close, I just wonder if there is, from each of you, if there's one thing that you think that this is going to do to improve. I mean, Jack, you've given some great examples, some really thoughtful examples. One thing or part of the job that this will make better, or even something that you're already using. MJ, what's it for you that you are excited about, or a thing that that this is going to, how is this? I'm going with the premise, and you're welcome to argue with me on it, or just not. That in this portion we're talking about how it's going to make the work better.
I think that AI can help us, and I think it can streamline things for us. Something that I can personally attest to is having it help me create trainings and at least outlines on personal presentations. So whether that is for my staff, whether that is for my family orientations, what I'm able to do is to use that as a brainstorming partner. And I think that's my takeaway here is my brainstorming partner that's going to help me create family orientation that is going to be inviting or welcoming. And AI is going to be able to pull from all these different areas of what that looks like, what other camps have done that, and what other articles online say that. So I think for me, it's creating those outlines so that I don't have to spend as much time trying to plan out an event, and it already exists for me.
That's great. That's awesome.
Similarly, I know last year, every year we hire staff and then we have them write activity plans for the kids, things they're interested in. And then the assistant directors, they have this entire process where they edit them and make it more camp highlight appropriate, whatnot. Last year, when the staff, oh God, I'm throwing people under the bus. When the staff fell down and didn't meet the deadlines, we were like, no problem, technology can solve this. And what we call our book of lessons, which is like our compendium of activity plans, a lot of it, I went to the AI and I said, listen, I am a camp director. I run a camp for this many kids. I need this kind of activity, and went back and forth. And it generated a lot of our material. And it generated some lessons. We have a curriculum around positive virtues. It created some of that curriculum. It saved a lot of time. I authored the curriculum early in our history, and I have to keep touching it up. And every year it takes me about 3 days. I cry and scream because it's so hard, and it got it done in minutes. So I think in ways like that, and of course I had to edit it to make sure it fit, our concepts and whatnot, but it saved me about a week of work and a lot of painful back and forth that the assistant directors were going to have to do with the staff. So in that way, it's really great. And not for nothing, I'm just going to stick this in here. I think Generation Alpha is going to have a new kind of literacy about how to work with these machines to get the results that they want. When I was asking for activities, I asked the AI to consider games from other cultures, from other countries, and to weave those together, to smash two games together to make something new. And for the most part, it played along with me. So it's just a way of using the machines to get you something. You can trick it to be expansive and inclusive if you're thoughtful.
I agree with everything you're saying. I couldn't agree more about the thought partnership. Like, give me some ideas that I can scramble up. Something I like to use it for, if you just pay a little bit for the DALL-E or for ChatGPT Pro or whatever, you get to play with DALL-E, which will create your images for you too, and just makes things more whimsical. Like, just send it an email, just tell it to make up a drawing of a campfire with balloons because it connects to whatever, just like makes things more whimsical. I think that's like a really small, like, today use case. I think the future use cases are the most exciting to me around synthesizing really big pieces of information and giving me little bits of information on how I can act to have bigger impact. Like, that's what's the most exciting for me. I don't think we're mostly that, we're not quite there yet on the super use cases for camp yet. I don't think.
Yep, I think that's fair. Two things that I think about, I definitely use it for all those things. CampHacker people know that I have a hard time writing. That's why I podcast, because I don't like to write. And blinking cursor is one of the hardest things for me, and I have used AI to get past that so many times in the last 14 months. The other thing is that this isn't a coming crisis, but it's something I was thinking about, is that one of the things I do for myself is art in lots of different forms. And because of whatever medication and some other stuff, I've got quite a shake these days that I can't, it's costing my ability to do some of the art. But that doesn't mean I can't make art, because I can do what Jack was talking about, describe things that I want to see. And I can actually do more than I have ever been capable of doing with art, because I can sort of talk out my imagination. So those are some of the things that I am using for both me, myself, and professionally, and me, myself, taking care of myself. Every year it's the same thing. Lots of hours spent working on the daily schedules, only for there to be mistakes, missed activities, lots of stress, and upset. Why is this so difficult? There's got to be a better way. There is. It's Camptivities, an activity scheduler made specifically for camps by camp people. Group scheduling or camper scheduling, they've got you covered. There's different day schedules. That's not a problem. It's auto scheduling, elective scheduling, batch scheduling, Just schedule the way that works for you, your camp, and the way you run things. With over 50 reports, you'll be able to see the data easily. When a parent calls and says, my camper didn't get an activity week 1, pull up the group activity tracker and see exactly when that activity was scheduled all summer long. Figure out and be able to tell that parent this is when it's going to happen next. Modernize the way you do activity scheduling. Make it easier to collaborate with team members, get rid of the mistakes, and make sure your campers are getting to all of the activities they want to. They would love to show you the next big thing in camp. Don't wait until the new year. Start the onboarding process now and save 15% for this coming season. Visit Camptivities.com to set up a time to chat with them. Let them help you get away from your desk and back out at camp. I really appreciate this discussion. And thank you to all of you for doing that. What I want to do now is move us on to the tool of the week.
Tool of the week.
Chris, what is your tool of the week this week?
Okay. So 2 things about me is that I love to wear a hat and I love a headlamp. I think it's the camp aspect of the headlamp, not necessarily like camp as like summer camp, like camp as in like campy, like style wise. I just think a headlamp looks so nerdy. There's something about it. There's just something about it that is so Steve Urkel that I want to lean all the way into it. Right. So someone sent me a link and it was like, I saw this and thought of you. And I was like, huh? But I was into it. It's just this thing on Amazon. It's like this beanie, but it's got like an LED lamp like right in the brim. I don't own this, so I want to be really, really clear about this. I don't own it, so I don't know if it like shines out like a proper Steve Urkel-esque headlamp. But you know what I thought about? I was like, you could slap these on the kids and turn on the light, and you'll never lose them in the forest because you could always see them. It's great. I mean, I guess they could turn it off, but I was like, oh, they could play. There are cool games you can play with this. So anyway, it's just a unisex beanie with a little LED light in the front. It's $10. It's silly, but it's fun. And silly and fun is my brand. So there it is. Check it out.
That is awesome. I have seen a surprising number of people related to clothes and LEDs. I've seen a surprising number of people in the makerspace and YouTubers that I follow that make things who love the gloves that have LEDs on the thumb and first finger for any kinds of projects done with your hands.
Yeah.
So lots of opportunities there. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate that. MJ, what is your tool of the week?
My tool of the week are Post-it notes that are lined and they're larger than your average Post-it note. And I like them because I like writing on lined paper, and they're, again, larger than your average Post-it note. So you can have a little bit more meaning to it. And I just overall really like them. I do own these, unlike Chris and his hat. I do have them and I love them so much.
That's great. Tell me one thing you use them for, 2 things you use them for.
Oh my gosh, I use them for my grocery list. I'm still a grocery list handwriter.
Sure. Yeah.
Also to-do list, and I can take it with me as I move about my day in my office.
That's amazing. I have seen like a slap bracelet with to-do lists on it. Somebody has made that you can write on, erase, start again, but it has a to-do list that you can take with you as a bonus tool of the week, just because you're all reminding me of other things that I think are cool. Jack.
Speaking of campy, nerdy, and cool, I'm sorry. That sounds like Chris Hudson is going to need that. So I hate meetings, but I love hanging out with people. And so I think that we're talking about AI. We're talking about these things. Meetings tend to be a way where one person tends to have most of the control, and they just like share information. And that's why it's like, could have been an email or whatever. And so at the Summer Camp Society, we've been thinking a lot about meetings and trying to not have the like Jack's in charge, so he tells you what's going on kind of meeting. It's no fun for anyone. I don't like it, and nobody there likes it, right? And so my tool of the week is a 5-minute YouTube video about how to run effective meetings by Matt Mockery, who is like executive coach. Doesn't matter what he is. He's really good at describing this idea of trying to take meetings from being verbal. The worst kind of meeting is you arrive, and you talk about stuff. It gets a little bit better if there's an agenda ahead of time, right? My friend Sylvia says no agenda, no attenda. And then so go from verbal to the next one is like you arrive and then you write when you arrive. And you take like 10 minutes, whatever, at the beginning, and everyone writes what they're supposed to write. And then the best kind of meeting is if everybody 24 hours ahead of time has written what they want to talk about in the meeting, and then comments are open. And if you don't comment, you don't get to talk. So everybody has to think ahead of time. And one of the reasons I love this is that it forces me to think ahead of time. And I'm notoriously the most chaotic, arriving with the like, oh, we should figure it out. And so, this forces more kind of crockpot thinking instead of microwave thinking, which I think is really important.
One of the things that changed meetings at camp for us is we made a rule that if you're on the agenda, you cannot facilitate. So facilitators have to be people who don't have a stick in the fire. And we then trained people how to run meetings so that there were a whole bunch of people who had experience and confidence in leading meetings. And that made such a difference and it takes some training because same as Jack, I can take over a meeting pretty easily, and you have to have some gumption and trust in the process that you can step on me when I'm talking and say, Travis, that's enough. We need to, you got to wrap that up or you got to hand it off. And we got to that point and it was great. And then it just became part of our camp culture. So I'm really interested to see this one. It's an awesome tool. Thank you. My tool is a book. It's called Emergency by Neil Strauss. Neil Strauss is a writer about lots of different things, mostly real things. And he has this great book about sort of being prepared. It's not really a prepper book. It's really not. But it is one that's thoughtful. This goes into my file beside the Wilderness Medical Associates Woofer book. The Woofer pocket book that I love so much from taking that course, and just goes there just in case. And it is an interesting read. It includes some graphic novel elements as well, so it's an easier read than just thick words. So thank you all for that. Chris, if people need to get a hold of you,
hi, yeah, people can you just tuck a note onto a pigeon's foot and send it off. It will find its way to me 7 times out of 9.
Every pigeon knows Chris.
Yeah, hello. If that doesn't work, feel free to email me, chris@planetchris.net. Or if you're interested in what I do in my private life because you're nosy and like that, then you can follow me on Instagram @planetchris1.
Thanks, Chris. Jack, how can people follow up with you if they have questions or interested in the work that the Summer Camp Society is doing?
Google the Summer Camp Society, and you'll find all of our stuff. And you can email me, jack@thesummercampsociety.com. And this is so fun.
That's great. Thank you so much for being on the show, Jack. MJ?
Yeah, similar to Jack, you can Google it. It's MJEMJ at thesummercampsociety.com. I'm also on the Instagram. So if you slide into our DMs, you'll be chatting with me. So the Summer Camp Society on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn.
Well, what about TikTok?
And on TikTok. Don't send me messages on TikTok. I love it, but don't. If you want to send me TikTok, send them. If you want a response, Instagram.
There you go. MJ, thank you for being here and sharing your thoughts on AI today. I appreciate you both joining Chris and I on the show. It has been great to have you. I want to take just a second. Well, let me say this. If you have thoughts or suggestions for topics or other follow-up things, Travis at gocamp.pro, gocamp.pro for all of our other stuff. I want to take 1 second and highlight another GoCamp Pro podcast and tell you that you need to go search for the First Class Counselor podcast. And it is a show that we make so that camp directors have it to pass on to their staff before they arrive for summer. It's a nice, easy way to get some good thoughts to help your summer staff get ready to be a good camp counselor. And there's lots of great stuff. The number of listens, we were stunned to know, we're looking at the number of listens at the end of the season, how much they have in First Class Counselors and how many countries people listen to that show in. So please check it out. There's some great resources there for you to pass on to your staff. Thanks for the evening, friends.
The Camp Hacker podcast is brought to you by Beth and Travis Allison, summer camp leadership training and marketing consultants. Thanks for listening.
Hey, Camp Pros. We love that our industry is built on sharing. In order to foster that spirit, if you've gotten even one good idea from a Go Camp Pro podcast, a masterclass, from the Summer Camp Pros group on Facebook, at a conference, or wherever else, we ask that you give credit where credit is due. That way, we can encourage camp pros to keep freely sharing their brilliant ideas and make the camp industry better. Thanks very much.
Hey, it's Travis. Camp directors often tell me they're just too tired to take on anything new. That's exactly why my free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic exists. It doesn't add work, it shows you progress. Quick, free, repeatable, you'll know if your systems are paying off without the guesswork. Try it today at camp.mba/Travis. That's camp.mba/Travis.